just surrender yourself and just say it's not just saying you're willing to do anything, but whenever these things aren't hard, it's getting a sponsor, doing the steps, working as hard as you can, getting out of your comfortability, get out and just surrender. I had a hard time doing that. Just once you just sit back and let people tell you what to do, and you do those things, it makes you appreciate everything else so more. Things just come to you.
Yeah. Welcome to Peggy's Recovery Corner. This is a recovery podcast. Recovery from what? Recovery from drug addiction, from alcoholism, from mental health. We have been doing this podcast for a few years now. I'm Pej. Some people call me Peggy. First and foremost, before we get started, do me a favor and like our page, subscribe to our page, but better yet, share this thing to everybody because we want to be able to help people with addiction and just get the word out and let people see the guests that we have and put the inspiration out and energy, good energy out into the world. And today I have a special guest. His name is Noah. Noah, welcome to the corner.
Thank you.
Noah and I became acquainted probably a few months ago. I happened to be somewhere where I saw him. He learned about me. I learned about him. Today you have 99 days sober, correct?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And your drugs of choices was crack, fentanyl, and a little bit of meth in the mix?
Yeah, just a little bit.
All right, so we'll get into that in a sec. But first and foremost, welcome. We talked about getting you on here for a little while. You kept in communication with me. Listen, I love the youth, right? Like I love getting younger people that have gotten sober and are really on fire for sobriety to come on here because there's a lot of people that are struggling and suffering out there in the world. So I want people to hear that this works for people. We're going to go through your journey of recovery in the end, but I wanted to more hear a little bit about your upbringing. Like you're from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania. And grew up in a family, or was there parents in the picture?
Kind of. My dad, I mainly was raised by my mom. Like, definitely my dad was kind of a deadbeat to me, to be honest with you. But
he wasn't in your life much when you were a kid?
He was. He actually, he sexually assaulted me whenever I was about like 8 years old. I didn't have to tell anybody until I was like 12, but yeah. After that, like my dad was kind of out of my life. I didn't really talk to my dad. But yeah, my mom was in my life, but I also was a shithead. So like I got kicked out a lot whenever I was younger, but
like how old were you when the first time you got kicked out?
I was probably like 15.
15 years old. You say shithead, like were you just a combative young man? Like were you...
I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to go to school.
You went against the grain?
Yeah, I was smoking weed. I was drinking. Like I was just overall just not listening. Like, and a lot of it had to do with, it's just things I went through. Like my mom, she did the best she could with the tools that she had. But I was so angry and so frustrated about just life, you know? Because even at a young age, like a lot of people, even at a young age, I had a lot to deal with, but I'm not blaming anybody but myself for the decisions I did make because I had a choice, you know?
Right. So was there any brothers and sisters in the picture?
Yeah, I have a older brother. He's my half brother, but I consider him my full brother. He tried to help me as much as he could. Me and him were really close. We were, but we weren't. Like it was like that brotherly love. Whenever I would fuck up, like he was there for me, but at the same time, like he had his boundaries with me. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, my brothers. I haven't seen my brother in like I want to say like 4 years actually. The day my brother the day my brother got out of prison, I flew out here.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to see him.
So you've been out in California for what, 6-7 months?
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you say you were a shithead, like in that young age, right?
Yeah.
And you were getting kicked out, where were you going to stay?
Friends' houses. I used to take my mom. Well, it first started. I used to take my stepdad's car out, or not stepdad, my mom's boyfriend's car, and whenever they were sleeping, I used to go ride around with my friends, smoke
Sneak the
weed.
car
Yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even have a license, didn't have a permit, nothing. I'd go take it out, drive around, whatever, and I got caught right one time because I left my bong in the car in the trunk in a bag, and that's how they ever figured it out. And I used to be real sneaky, like. I used to sneak in my mom's room, steal her weed while she was sleeping, and like take the keys off the counter. He used to, my mom's boyfriend used to hide the keys in the pillowcase, right? So,
So he already knew that
yeah,
there's a chance that you're going to probably try to steal the car.
yeah. So, whenever they would go downstairs or something to like get something to eat or do whatever, right? I would hear the door, so I'd hurry up, run in there, take his keys out of the pillowcase, and put it in his jeans pocket, right? Because I knew,
And
like,
you'd hear this and know that that's where you got to go find him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just
So he's thinking ahead, but you're already scheming on your end.
yeah, yeah. So I'd put it in the pocket, right, just in case he were to feel that they were gone.
Yeah.
He couldn't blame it on me. Like he
And was
forgot it
he
and put it in
doing
the
that
pocket.
because he had already known that you stole the car before?
Yeah, yeah. Because I left the bong in the car, and he went to work, and he popped the trunk, and I had it in a book bag, left it in the trunk. So I would do that, and then whenever he
This is part of the being a shithead.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And whenever like they really like started finding out whatever, my mom and him weren't really like, he was an asshole, but so I don't even remember how it went, but I know he wasn't there, and I took my mom's truck out the one night, and I went to go buy some weed. Well, whenever I got there, the plug would not answer. Like, he stopped answering the phone. Like, I was sitting in his driveway, just stopped answering. I was knocking on his window, he just stopped answering me. So I go to drive back to the house, and I dropped my phone. I was looking for my phone, and I sideswiped a car, and I looked in the rearview mirrors, and like I always got told, like, if they're really vibrant blue headlights, like even when sneaking out, like being out past curfew, like you run from it or whatever. So I
Just
hit
the popo.
yeah, so I hit the gas real hard, and I went to turn, but from me sideswiping a car, the front wheel gave out,
Mm-hmm.
and I smacked into the back of like a $35,000 car. I can't remember what it was called, but I hit it, and I totaled the truck, totaled the car, and I ran all the way back, like it's probably like a couple miles all the way back to my house, and my mom was passed out drunk. And if she would have, like, if she would have answered the door when the cops were banging on the door,
Yeah.
they would have took her to jail, because like she probably still reeked like alcohol, you know what I mean? So they would assumed it was her, right?
Right.
And I'm watching the cops bang on the door, and they leave. So I sneak into my house. I sneak into my mom's room, grab her pack of cigarettes, grab a couple of cigarettes, and I'm in my room smoking cigarettes, just freaking the fuck out. Like I'm done. Like, I'm gonna get locked back up in a juvenile placement. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. And so I'm like, you know what? It's time to wake my mom up and tell her. So I woke my mom up. I told her, and she was so mad, but she was happy too, because like I was always doing shit, and she didn't feel safe. Like, I wouldn't come home sometimes, but she knew if I went to Keystone's, what they call it, the juvenile detention center. If I would have went there, she knew, like, she didn't have to really worry about me. She knew I was safe. She
Safer
didn't
place
have
for you to be.
right. She didn't have to.
Had you been in there before?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you in your youth went to juvie.
Yeah, yeah, a couple times. But she knew, like, I'd be safe. She knew she hadn't worry about me stealing nothing or doing anything wrong to her, and so she was like, all right, we're gonna call the cops. The cops came over, and the cops looked at me and said, you're lucky my shift ended 15 minutes ago, so I'm not gonna do the paperwork to put you in Keystone, and you're not 18, I can't put you in jail. So they didn't lock me up.
You got away with it.
I got away, and my mom was just done. She kicked me out. She's like, you go live on your own, like, you do whatever you do. So I moved to West Virginia, and my mom doesn't know this, so she's
She's watching right now, so now
she's
she's
gonna
gonna know.
she's gonna hear some shit. So I moved to West Virginia, and I was with this girl Emily, and I ended up getting her pregnant, and I was 17. I'm pretty sure I'm like 17 at this time, or just turned 17, and in my head I'm like, okay, like, I can't do this. Like, I'm on the run. Like I have warrants out for me. My mom didn't tell me the court date, so I'm like, all right, whatever. So I turn myself in. While I'm in there, she gets an abortion. She doesn't like, so she didn't ever. We didn't end up having the kid, but I was in placement for. I don't even know exactly how long, but I went there. Went to this place called Outside Inn. And there was a bunch of Philly kids there. So like, I used to get beat up because I was just white. Because I was white, like I had to get the shit beat out of me. Like my eyes been swollen,
Beat up by
huge.
blacks?
Yeah. I mean, even yeah, it was bad. But so I ended up getting moved from there. I went to another place. Um, it's called Taylor Diversion. It's like an independent living place, and I I can't remember exactly. I think I was getting into fights there, but I ended up getting kicked out of there. My probation officer didn't want to deal with me. So she was like, "You get your mom to agree to take you home, and I will I'll take you off probation. You go home, everything, right?" Because I was 18 at the time. Like I was 17 when I went in, but I was 18 when I went out.
You turned
And
18 in there.
yeah, and I got my mom to agree. I went home 4 days later. I can't exactly remember what happened, but I just know I got kicked out again, right? But I'm 18 this time, so there's no, she can kick me out legally. She can't, there's no like, there's nothing I can do.
Mm.
So I was staying in friends' houses or like sleeping in cars. I got this job. They helped me get my own apartment. And yeah, I ended up getting my own apartment. I was working for my uncle, like not my uncle, but like my cousin's um husband. He had his own tree service business, so I was working for him, and I had my own apartment. My rent was only $92, but I lived in like it's like I'm not racist on them, but it's a black neighborhood, like the projects. It was like the slums. I lived in there.
That's not racist. You just lived in.
No, yeah,
That's where Carrie grew up, in a neighborhood like that in Florida.
yeah, okay, but yeah, like that's where I live. So like sometimes I was like kind of scared to go out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because I was like the only like
You were
white
token
kid.
white boy walking through the
Yeah,
hood.
yeah,
So okay, you could be a target.
right. But yeah, so that's when I got my own apartment. Um, I was paying like my own bills for the most part. I had to get like sometimes like once I I had what was that? So I started using the blues.
Blues, what, as in fentanyl?
Yeah, the press perk 30s.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
You're how old now?
20.
Oh, so you're super young still.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get into that a little. I want to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious to know when kids or even adults, whoever experiments with those, had you ever done any opiates before that?
I did a Subox, like a piece of Suboxone.
Okay, but had you ever done any real oxys or anything like that?
No.
When you were first introduced to blues, and for those that don't know, blues are basically they look like M30s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And oxycodone, right?
Yeah.
They look like that.
But they're not.
But they're not. They're a pressed pill that somebody's pressing, and they're putting fentanyl in it
Yeah.
with whatever else they do to hold it together, and it is fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
Now, in doing this, you as a youth, a youngster, first time you ever saw it, did anybody tell you that's Fetty?
No.
You didn't know?
No. I didn't know.
Were you naive in the sense that you actually thought that's going to be an oxy, and it's going to be kind of like? Were you smoking it?
No, I was snorting it.
Okay, and usually when it comes to the blues,
Yeah.
people either snort them, smoke them. Do they shoot them? To your knowledge,
I know. I don't think.
You never did nothing like that.
No.
All right, but basically you were snorting them.
Yeah.
When you snorted it the very first time, did you know what you were in for?
No.
Did you think you were going to become addicted to it?
No.
Were you afraid?
Yeah. I mean, I was afraid that it was fentanyl because, well, I was
So you
getting
had a little
told.
idea that this could be fentanyl.
I thought that it could be, but it was kind of funny because like the group of friends I was around, like they were like, oh no, this ain't fentanyl. It's like the only real ones you can get, whatever,
They all
whatever.
say that
Yeah, yeah,
because everybody thinks they know somebody.
yep.
And you know what? Sometimes some people really do know somebody and they do get the real ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that it's like a crapshoot. Like it kind of walking into it blindly. You don't really know, but you at this point, it's like you don't want to look like a chump in front of your friends,
Right.
circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, just let's do it. So you did a line of it.
Yeah.
Instantly addicted?
No, I wouldn't say I was instantly addicted. I did a line and I was dating this girl and like her dad was like real like he was like real strung out or whatever. So like I kind of had to hide it from her, you know what I mean? And I remember like she came to the house after I already snorted it and I was just laying with her and I knew I was about to puke, right? And my friend wanted to go play basketball, and I'm like, what the fuck? What you want to go play basketball? I'm feeling like I'm about to puke. I don't like, like I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, what is this, right? So I go outside and just, bro, instantly puked everywhere. It was just throwing up, and I was trying to like play basketball, but I just wouldn't stop sweating. I was so hot. I was getting heat flashes, but I was high. Like, and that was like one of the first times that like it was almost like a warm blanket was put over me in a sense.
That was the feeling of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't actually like after that. I I had bought one, and I didn't even use it for like a week, like probably like a week or two, and um yeah, I didn't use it at all, and I went to do it again, and that's when I came addicted. When I did the second one, I
You
it
knew
was
you knew you wanted more.
yeah, I did. I knew I did. Just the way I felt was at first it was almost like I wouldn't say I don't know how to put this. It wasn't like I was nodding out, but it was like I wanted to do things like at first.
Be productive.
Yeah, at first. But once I got into it and started buying more, all I wanted to do was just nod out. And
So
that's it.
there's a lot of people who do blues and actually function in everyday life.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to people all across America. Some of them go to work.
Right.
Some have never overdosed.
Mm,
Some have never. Some have overdosed countless times from snorting it, from smoking it, from shooting it. Some become highly active on it. They like kind of figure out exactly how much to take and how much not to take to be able to do what they need to do. But some are just about that nod,
yeah.
like that straight up nod out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to that point, and I think that's like my girlfriend's a former heroin addict, and she always says, "I don't know about that fentanyl stuff. That why would you want to do something that sedates you?" And you're like, you pretty much fall asleep on it, right? It's like
Right.
you don't even get high. How long were you doing that for? That drug?
But I was doing that, I want to say, for a good like 7, 8 months, or maybe 6, 7 months.
When I brought up overdoses, how come you started going like this?
Because I'd never overdosed. That's crazy. I've never overdosed. And
Had you heard about anybody else overdosing on those pills?
I've had people overdose in front of me from those pills.
When you see somebody overdose, what's it look like?
Their lips turn blue. You just turn purple and blue, and you're dead. And you're just laying there.
Eyes are
dead.
rolling in the back of
Yeah,
their head?
you're dead. I had to Narcan somebody in my apartment, and that was traumatic because that's the first time I ever seen that.
Now you got into crack too
Yeah.
during that same time or after?
That was after the blues.
So you had stopped the blues and gotten into crack?
No, I had gotten into like real fentanyl, like powder.
Powder.
Yeah.
This is back in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And you were getting that from the plug.
At first, actually, I didn't have a job. I lost my job because I got stabbed. I got stabbed over 5 times. I was in the hospital. I That was like very like scary thing for me. Like I had a piece of my lung gone, a piece of my stomach gone, kidney was sliced open, diaphragm needed fixed, 6 broken ribs. And I was just I was so depressed, bro, like after that happened because I didn't have no friends after that. I didn't have the girl I was with was cheating on me in the hospital. Like I had staples in my body when I got out. I didn't look the same. Like I have huge scars on my body and that like changed me and the blues were doing nothing for me anymore because I had so much fentanyl built up in my system from the hospital.
Hmm.
The blues wouldn't do
You mean in the
nothing.
hospital they gave you like the fentanyl that's medical grade?
Yeah, they gave me fentanyl, they gave me Dilaudid, they gave me oxys.
So you were trying to do the blues later and it just
Yeah,
wasn't working.
yeah, it was just wasn't worth it. Cause out in Pennsylvania, like I'm out here, like in California, whenever I used out here, I was getting them for $10 a piece. In Pennsylvania, they're $30 a piece, $1 a milligram.
What brought you to California? Treatment?
Yeah,
And that was because life wasn't working in Pennsylvania?
yeah. I was tired of getting loaded. The first time,
Who pushed you in the direction of treatment? Yourself, your family, who?
so my mom, she definitely she knew, um, and my mom was an addict as well, so like she knew, and they wanted to do an intervention on me, and I didn't need an intervention. Like I knew that I
You
needed
knew
to
you weren't
go.
well.
I
You were
knew
kind of at a
I was
point
an
where you knew
addict.
like you got to probably change your life here. So.
Yeah, I had somebody I had somebody I barely even knew living in my apartment because I would get free drugs or I would like it was a mental
From that
thing.
somebody?
Yeah, like it was also a mental thing where like I'm not being sick alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if if I'm really sick and he has stuff, he's gonna help me. If he's really sick and I have stuff, I'm gonna help him. But it was also that's one of the also the most hardest, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
one of the hardest drugs to look out for people with because like let's say I only have a line and you're super sick and I'm super sick and I know that line's gonna get me well.
Yeah.
Like and some, I'm not gonna give you none of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just honestly, I'm not because why would I do that? Like why would I just it was kind of rough, but that's when I got introduced to crack though. Is he was smoking a lot of crack.
Out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he was smoking a lot of crack and uh I was like one day I was just like let me hit the pipe. He looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, "Let me hit it," and I did, and it wasn't even the high that I was
What was it
addicted
then?
to. It was putting the lighter up to the pipe. It was hitting the pipe, like the taste of it, the action of doing it, and I didn't really like. I would see him fucking like literally like looking at through doors and like bouncing his head around like he's all sketchy, and I'm
Yeah.
like looking at him like, what the fuck are
That's
you
that
doing?
crack life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but it didn't do that to me for some reason.
Does that make you all paranoid? And shit?
No,
Yeah.
but like it would give me bell ringers. Like it would like make everything like yeah,
And how long did you do crack?
off and on for like I want to say probably like in all times like when I was using it, I want to say probably 6 7 months. Like
And you weren't doing Fetty?
I was doing Fetty with
You were
it.
doing Fetty hand in hand.
Yeah, I was doing Fetty every day. Every time that I've ever used, it's always like that was the main drug of choice was fentanyl. And then it was kind of funny. It was always fentanyl. And then towards the end, before I would go to like rehab, like a month before I would go to rehab, it'd be like I'd be using crack every day too.
Did you go to rehab in Pennsylvania ever?
No, the rehabs in Pennsylvania are not nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that like the first time I tried to get sober, I was gonna go to a rehab in Pennsylvania, but I didn't know I had really good insurance. The Blue Cross Blue Shield, yeah, I didn't know I had really good insurance, and the rehab in Pennsylvania kept trying to get me to use that insurance, but I had other insurance that I thought was better, but it was just welfare insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't get back to me, and I was like, I figured out that I had good insurance, so I called a place out here, because I was like, where have I always wanted to go, and I was like, California, I could smoke weed, whatever, right? So I flew out here, and
You found a rehab in California that was weed friendly.
no. I in my head I'm thinking like, oh, after I go to rehab, I can go somewhere and smoke weed or something. Like,
Oh, after you go to rehab.
yeah,
Okay. But when you came to California, you went to one rehab.
yeah. I went to one rehab, and it was called Ocean Hills Recovery. It was in Laguna, and I went from there to the district, which is a sober living, and then I went back to Pennsylvania. Um, was living with a friend, and then kept getting loaded after that as well. So the first time didn't work. Trying to think.
What made you make your way back out to California?
I my face was all picked apart. It was like, when I say picked apart, like everything on, like there's scabs everywhere. Like I have scars like on my face from being so picked apart.
Now, I think it's important to talk about when you did end up back in California. How many treatment centers did you go to until you finally actually got sober and took your sobriety seriously, which you're doing right now?
I want to say I've been to at least like 5 or 6.
Okay, during your journey of going to these 5 or 6 places, you had told me earlier you ended up in a weed-friendly rehab.
Yeah, and it was a 420 friendly sober living.
Sober living that was attached to a rehab.
Um, like after I went to rehab, I
Were you still an outpatient in this 420?
yeah, it was an outpatient program. Like you would live at the sober living house, and you would do groups on Zoom.
Okay. Well, on Zoom. My question, the reason I'm asking is because it's always like, personally, I'm about 100% abstinence.
Right.
But I do know, like, because in the state of California, weed is legal, 21 and up, there are treatment centers, some, that have made their places 420 friendly. Not to say that you're smoking weed sitting in group or in a therapy session, but like people are turning a blind eye to it, or it's known that people do it, but nobody's really saying anything about it. Is that the type of place you were in?
Yeah.
And so when you're in the sober living, like you could just blaze weed or THC or whatever at the sober living and then do whatever you were doing on Zoom in groups?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh. At first, the first time I was there, like, the first ever time because I was there twice, but the first time I was ever there, it definitely, like, I'm not like shaming the place. I'm not like, it's not for me now. Like right now, like I can't smoke. Like I don't want to smoke weed, but
Good.
for other people, like it works for them. I've seen people like it
So
work.
people thrive in that type of environment and they stay sober, but they're just still smoking weed,
Yeah,
and that's okay for them.
yeah, for them. You know what I'm saying?
But it ain't for you.
No, it's not for me. But the first time I was there, I stayed sober.
Because personally, that shit makes me cringe.
Y-
But you know why I say it is because I feel like people are getting robbed of the opportunity to get real abstinent based recovery and get 100% sober. Because for me, like, it's not really about the substance,
Right.
it's about the individual. And for me, I'm not just a weed smoker. I take it to the next level. I do all kinds of other drugs too. So it started with weed. That was definitely my gateway.
Yeah, me too.
So if I'd have gone to rehab when I was 35, like I did go to rehab when I was 35, and they were smoking weed, I don't know that I would have succeeded. For me, it would have taken me back to the other shit. But I mean, to each their own. There's a lot of people that nowadays I have conversations with. They're like, "Pej, open your mind to all paths of recovery." And I want to be. I want to be cool with harm reduction. I think some people even say smoking weed in recovery. If you call that your recovery, like you are still part of the harm reduction movement because you're not doing your heavier drugs. You're just smoking weed. But the type of recovery that I grew up in and love and accept and try to put out into the universe with all the people that come into my path of recovery is 100% sober, like abstinent. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of touch on that whole experience that you had. I want to actually get more people that have gone into places like that, because I've heard some shenanigans happen in places and it's just weed that they're doing. Like I've heard they do Xanax and lots of other stuff too in those types of places. Regardless of the fact, so after 5 times of going to all of these different places, you ended up in one place, all right? And what made you take recovery so seriously and like really want to do this thing 100%?
It was definitely, a lot of it had to do with, I sat there and I really, like, I asked myself, what do I want? Like, what do I want in life? Do I want to just be a bum, or do I want to just make it? And what really like it's kind of crazy how this happened. I was talking about it earlier before this started. Whenever the time I got sober this time, I went to 4 different places
Mm.
and like back to back to back. I didn't like use drugs between, but I got kicked out of one. Didn't like the one. Went to another one. Got kicked out of that one. And
Did you
then
get kicked out because of behavioral stuff?
the first time it was because I snuck drugs in. The second time was because I was being an asshole to the nurses. And but I ended up in this place called We Level Up, and they accused me of body broking. They said I was a body broker, and I wasn't.
Which you weren't.
No,
Okay.
and they there was this guy Kyle. I don't know if he's watching. I'm pretty sure he's watching, but he actually had faith in me. He knew I wasn't a body broker, and he gave me this phone number to Jason at the Grove, and I was so headstrong on proving that I wasn't a body broker
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, what's the worst that can happen if I go to a place like to the Grove?
Yeah.
And I did, and it was the best thing that happened to me. It like
That's an all male facility.
yeah, it's an all male facility. The people around me were like so positive. I didn't get along with some people at first. I will tell you that. And Jason really looked out for me. Like I was struggling in that program at first
Mm-hmm.
with even like with some behavioral stuff with like just myself, right? And but I knew I couldn't go back out. I knew I was gonna die. I knew either I'm dead, jail, or something's gonna happen, and it's not gonna be good. And I knew it. And then I was at a meeting, first meeting I went to at the Grove. I led the meeting, asked this guy to sponsor me. He said he couldn't, gave me a phone number. My sponsor has the same fucking birthday as me. Ain't
Sober birthday?
no, real
belly
birthday.
button birthday?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's crazy. And yeah, and it's once I got that sponsor and I seen that, right, I'm like, this is working for me, and things are coming to me, and like but I still do go through things, but it's easier to cope with them. It's easier to just be okay. Like it,
It's
the
good.
the Grove is a very 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 good place. They believed in me. That's the first place that really like showed me love and showed me like you can do this, and in my corner, and like my mom talks to me now like
That's what I
every
was going to ask
day.
you next. I'm going to ask you a few questions I want you to answer.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship with your mom now?
Yeah.
She happy with you?
Yeah. She's very happy
How often do you talk to her?
every day. And I used to not talk to her at all.
When you tell her about how good you're doing?
Yeah, it's my mom tells me every day she's proud of me.
Do you still romanticize or fantasize about getting high?
Some days. Some days it does pop up.
How do you overcome the feelings of fiending or thinking or craving or wondering or anything like that?
Honestly, I think of where I was 99 days ago.
How does it feel to have 99 days without any type of drug
It's
going in your body?
amazing.
Weed included.
It's amazing. I'm even going to the gym every day. Like I used to be skin and bone, like literally so sucked up, so small. Like I just got these jeans maybe like a month ago, and they're already starting to get too small for me.
You have good friendships these days?
Yeah,
You have people to hold you accountable?
yeah,
Are you starting to love your life?
yeah, definitely. Everything, and I just sit back and wait, and like, and one thing that I want to say is, like, the people that are out there struggling and don't think that they can do it. I'm 20 years old.
Is that why when I first met you and you learned about who I am and what I do and we started talking, we talked about podcasts and recovery podcasts. Is that what you want to do? You want to come and like let people know that people do get better like yourself?
Yeah, because I didn't think I ever would. Every time almost every time I went, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going for a break. I'm just going to get people to see, oh, he made an effort.
You're an inspiration. I'll say this. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of messages, a lot of texts, things like that from kids that are struggling, that are anywhere from the ages of 12 to like 25, 30 years old. They don't know what they're doing with their lives. Some of them are in experimental phase. Some of them are straight up addicted to substances. Some of them have come on the podcast. Some of them have gotten sober and then gone and relapsed. We need more people like yourself that'll take this serious, because anything that you described before sounds like the facade. The same facade I was caught up in. Ain't no way to live, man.
Mm-mm.
I mean, come on, man. You're doing fentanyl. Like, the second anybody calls me, I get teenagers that tell me they're doing fentanyl at 13, 14 years old. I'm like, oh my God. Like nobody should be doing fentanyl, period.
Yeah.
But when they're under 18, like, this is our youth, the youth of today. We need these kids to grow up and run the world.
Right.
And they're doing something that could kill them right away. I'm so happy you're not doing that no more.
I used to sit in like meetings and like look around and see like people being successful, or seeing like old timers, not even old timers, but like people that are like 30 years old, 40 years old, and like they have things, and like and I used to think they're boring. I used to think, I'm not gonna like
Kick it with them.
yeah, like why would I want to talk to you? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And now I'm like,
You admire them?
so much, because like I was so stubborn. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like, you couldn't tell me shit. I didn't care what you said. In my opinion, like, I would just say, yeah, okay, you whatever. Like, I don't care what you're saying. But now, like, I sit and I listen, right?
You know what I was just thinking right now? You're 20. You said I was 15. I was a piece of shit. I was getting kicked out, running the street, whatever. Isn't that amazing that within 5 years you could actually mature enough to like actually do the right thing and embrace recovery and respect recovery and want recovery for yourself? I think that's wonderful. This is like heartwarming. I love to be able to see the miracles come into my life, watch them transform, and become people that have big, huge lives, rather than be that person that's nodding out and could potentially, during that nod, breathe their last breaths, right? It's like, we need you, man. We need, good job. You're at 99 days. Tomorrow's going to be 3-digit days.
Yeah.
You asked me at the beginning of this, right when I asked you how many days you have. How many days do you have? I had to go on my app and look. I have 6,033 days. That means I look at that number. I'm like, you mean to tell me I have not been a slave to the pipe or the bottle or nothing like that? For 6,033 days, my lips have not touched anything, or my nostrils,
Right.
or my veins, or nothing like that, have touched anything that's going to get me loaded and high. I found my purpose, and I believe you are well on your way, young man, to finding your purpose too. We need you. I always say that stuff, because when I was a newcomer, they would say, yo, put the stuff down. We need you. Good. I'm happy that you came on here today. I hope I get more like you.
Yeah.
You know? And I want to be your friend, and I want to keep continuing to witness your journey, and I want you to witness my journey, and we do this thing shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would.
I appreciate you so much coming out here today just to do this with me today. You're a good dude.
Yeah, of course. I was really looking forward to it. I want to like send out a message to people, because
Put it out there. Say it. Say something inspiring.
I used I used to sit there and, like, again, I used to sit there in meetings and look at people like, I'm never gonna be you. I don't want to be you. And once you
Beautifully said.
And whenever you're wanting something,
Mhm.
just be patient.
Absolutely.
Your time is gonna come whenever it comes. You don't try to control it. Don't try to force things. Just go with the flow. And I promise you, like I promise everybody that's watching this and thinks they can't do it, you can do it because I'm doing it. I am 20 years old and I am doing it. I tell myself every day I'm going to stay sober today and probably tomorrow. And that's been working for me this whole time. And I say it every morning. I I get up late, like 10 minutes before about to leave the house to go to groups, but still in that van or in general, I sit there and I say my prayer in my head. I sit there and I thank God for everything that my higher power. I thank everything for that I have right now. You know, like I I'll share a little bit. This time when I got sober, I had to I got asked by the Grove to go to a place called Eden to get med stabilized,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that, and that was because I was willing to do anything. I wanted this, and since then everybody comes to me almost every day and tells me how proud of me, how proud of me they are, and how much I've grown, and that makes me feel good. That makes me
Good.
want to keep going. That makes me absolutely love my life. When I say also, this is something that blows my mind too, right? For the people out there that that like have like a significant other, right? And they don't want to get sober and
Yeah.
you're trying to get them sober, right? I lived with a girl in sober living. I lived with her. That was the most shittiest relationship I had, right? And then get this, right? Because we were in sober living together, and I relapsed and she ended up relapsing, right? I felt some type of need to try to fix that, or I felt some type of need to like be there for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go over there to get my rug stuff. I make rugs because one of my hobbies. Like I love making rugs, right?
Okay.
I go over there to get my rug stuff, and I go up to her room and hear a dude's voice talking in her room. So like I took 30 seconds, took a deep breath, because I knew what I was about to walk in on, right? And knocks on the door. And she was like, "What?" And I didn't answer, right? And she opens the door. Her face fucking color drained. And I look over, and there's a dude laying in her bed. And I laughed. I just laughed. Grabbed my stuff. And this was on my 90 days. And I had
So it wasn't that long ago. It was 9
No,
days
that was
ago.
9 days ago. I had 90 days. And I see that, right? And I didn't get mad
You
over
just
it.
picked up your stuff and moved on.
I didn't get mad over it. I didn't
Yeah.
relapse over it. I didn't
Good.
do none of that. I was like, you know what? That's my 90 days. And God wanted me to see that. It was crazy how that happened too, because I sold a kid a vape for $10, used that $10 to get a ride over there so I can get my rug stuff. So like God, my higher power wanted
Put
me
it
to
right
see
in your
that.
place
Yeah.
for you, just right in your
Yeah.
path to see. I mean, listen, this has been really good.
Yeah.
You're a fine young man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I like that you talk about God. I didn't believe in God when I first got sober.
Neither did I.
I came to a recovery space looking for a God that was never really lost, right? I was lost, and look what happens. We become found. So I'm proud of you, young man. You are a good dude. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about what happens with you, and I have a lot of good things in mind too. I think we could help each other get together and help some people. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to sign off and sign out. The holidays are around the corner. Everybody stay sober to the best of your ability. Don't be hanging out in the bathroom too much. Be with your families.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, you can always reach out to me. My number's 310-596-9356 if you want me to try to just listen or even help putting you in touch with some people that might be able to help you through your through the holidays. I know some people get squirrely. My name is Pej. This was Noah, Pej's Recovery Corner. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and most importantly, share this channel.
And if you guys want to possibly reach out to me, my number is 949-818-9032. You can find me on Instagram. It's Noah Aubrey. Sorry, 1 second. Noah Aubrey 6. And yeah, you can get in touch with me if you ever need to talk or anything, or just like it doesn't matter. Call me if you ever need to talk anything. I'm here for any and everybody that needs help.
I love that. Thank you, Noah. Thanks for coming on. Peace.
Hey, it's your auntie, y'all.